Welcome to Relation Tales. Please like this video and subscribe Relation Tales. We're grateful for each and every one of you. Let us know where in the world you're tuning in from. We'd love to hear from you in the comments. Let's begin. The evening sky over Portland was bruised with orange and gray when Ryan Parker turned his truck into the narrow driveway of their house. The porch light was on, the curtains drawn, and yet everything inside felt hollow. The silence didn't sound peaceful anymore. It sounded practiced. Claire's car was gone. He cut the engine, sitting there for a long moment, watching the light flicker in the upstairs window where she usually worked. Once upon a time, he would have gone straight in, kissed her cheek, and asked about her day. But those habits had died quietly, one by one. The neighborhood dogs barked somewhere down the block. The world kept moving. Ryan finally stepped out, rain dampening the collar of his jacket. He unlocked the door. The scent of her perfume, that floral blend she wore only when she was nervous, lingered in the hall. Something was off. He hung his jacket, glanced toward the stairs, and noticed the suitcase missing from the closet. Not the small carry-on she used for work trips, the large silver one she'd bought last year for vacations. On the dresser lay a printed itinerary half-tucked beneath a scarf. It wasn't a San Diego, where her company's conference was supposed to be. It was Denver. He stared at the paper until his jaw tightened. Ryan wasn't a dramatic man. He'd spent 15 years as a structural engineer, the kind who measured everything twice, spoke once, and trusted stability over emotion. But lately, even numbers couldn't make sense of his marriage. 2 months earlier, Claire had started leaving earlier, coming home later. She'd laugh at her phone during dinner, lock the screen when he looked up, and wave him off with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. He tried to believe her, really tried. Told himself he was overthinking. But then came the credit card alerts, the weekend seminars, and the faint cologne that wasn't his on her coat sleeve. He hadn't said a word. Not because he was blind, because he was preparing. Ryan believed in evidence. So he started collecting. Quietly. A bank statement printout here, a cloud backup there, a location tracker hidden inside her car key fob. Nothing illegal, just methodical. Each clue went into a folder on his laptop labeled Truth. That night, he sat in his home office with the lights off, only the glow of the screen lighting his face. Rain drummed softly against the window as he opened her synced email account. Within seconds, it appeared. Hotel Ridgeway. 2-night stay for Claire Bennett and Daniel Cole. Daniel, the same co-worker who'd texted her during dinner last week. The one she defended with a little too much enthusiasm. Ryan leaned back slowly, the chair creaking under the weight of realization. He didn't rage. He didn't cry. He just understood. And understanding changed everything. The next morning, he met Lydia Reed, an old college friend turned attorney. Her office smelled of ink and cedar. Her tone was steady, precise. Ryan, she said after scanning the evidence, you could file for divorce right now and win everything. You've got timestamps, receipts, photos. He cut her off gently. Not yet. Lydia raised an eyebrow. You're planning something. Ryan's voice dropped to a calm whisper. Let's just say I want her to tell me the story herself, while realizing I already know every chapter. Saturday came. Then Sunday. Claire's phone location showed she was still in Denver. Same hotel, same name beside hers on every reservation. Ryan didn't text, didn't call. He spent the weekend reorganizing the house, gathering documents, moving joint funds, transferring property deeds that were originally in her name to his through pre-signed refinance forms. Every move legal, every move deliberate. By Sunday night, the sky outside the window had turned silver with the moonlight. His phone buzzed once, a message from her. Please don't be upset. I'll explain everything Monday. He stared at it for a while, then typed back something simple, emotionless. I'm listening. He set the phone down beside the divorce papers already signed on his desk and whispered, You'll have your chance, Claire, but I'm not the one who'll be explaining. The storm outside broke just after midnight. Inside, Ryan finally smiled for the first time in months, not out of joy, but clarity. The lie was almost over, and the reckoning was about to begin. The morning Claire returned, the world looked deceptively ordinary. The sun rose like it always did over the Parker home, painting soft gold through the blinds, catching the dust motes that floated lazily in the air. But to Ryan, nothing about this morning felt ordinary. It felt staged, like the quiet before a storm. He'd already been awake for hours. The documents lay stacked neatly on the oak table beside him. Bank statements, hotel receipts, the signed property transfer forms that Lydia had helped him file. His lawyer's words echoed in his mind. Once you press go, there's no turning back. He'd smiled faintly when she said it. That's the point, he'd replied. Now, as he sipped his black coffee, he heard the faint rumble of tires on the driveway. The same car she used for her work trips. The same car that had parked for 2 nights at the Ridgeway Hotel. He didn't get up right away. He listened. The front door opened. A pause. The click of heels, slow, hesitant. Ryan. Her voice was soft, cautious, almost unfamiliar. I'm home. Home. The words sounded strange coming from her mouth, like it didn't belong there anymore. He looked up just as she appeared in the doorway. Claire was still beautiful. Dark hair pulled into a loose bun, her travel coat draped carelessly over her arm. But something about her face had changed. The spark that used to draw people to her was dimmed. She looked like someone rehearsing a part she didn't believe in anymore. Hey, she began, forcing a nervous smile. I know I owe you an explanation. Ryan leaned back in his chair. I'm sure you do. She exhaled, dropping her purse on the counter. I was in Denver for a client retreat. It was last minute. I didn't want you to worry, so I didn't. He interrupted quietly. Daniel Cole sends his regards. Her expression froze. The color drained from her face. For a second, her lips parted as if to deny it, but her voice failed her. How do you know that name? She finally whispered. Ryan didn't answer. He simply slid his laptop toward her. The screen glowed with a folder titled Denver. Inside, hotel bills, photos, and copies of every message she thought she'd deleted. She reached for the table to steady herself. You. Her voice broke. You went through my phone? No, he said coldly. You did that when you decided I wasn't worth the truth. Her shoulders sagged. For a long, heavy moment, neither of them spoke. Outside, a bird chirped somewhere near the window. The sound felt cruelly out of place. Finally, Claire swallowed hard and said, It wasn't what you think. Ryan raised an eyebrow. You'll have to help me out then. Because from here, it looks like you lied, cheated, and used me to fund your little weekend adventures. Tears began to gather in her eyes, but he didn't flinch. He'd cried his tears weeks ago, alone, in silence, when the truth first cracked open. What he felt now wasn't pain. It was control. I never meant for it to go this far, she said weakly. I thought it was harmless. I just felt like you stopped seeing me. Daniel made me feel important. Ryan finished for her. Special. Alive. She looked away. He stood slowly, crossing the room until he was close enough to see her trembling hands. You could have said that to me, Claire. You could have told me what you needed. Instead, you lied, and you let me become the fool in your story. Her voice broke. Ryan, please, we can fix this. He smiled faintly. Oh, it's already fixed. She blinked in confusion. What do you mean? He gestured to the table. The documents, neatly organized, ready to go. The house. It's in my name now. The accounts? Closed. The marriage. He paused, his tone even. That's just a signature away for being history. Her eyes widened. You wouldn't. Ryan, please. Don't do this. It was a mistake. Mistakes are accidents, he said. This was choreography. Claire's tears fell freely now, glistening in the morning light. I didn't think you'd find out. That's the thing about truth, Ryan said, picking up the folder. It doesn't hide forever. It waits. He turned toward the door, but her trembling voice stopped him. Is this really how it ends? After everything we had? He looked back, his expression calm but unreadable. No, he said quietly. This is how it begins for me. He walked out, the door closing softly behind him. That afternoon, while Claire sat alone in the silence she'd built, Ryan met Lydia downtown to finalize everything. They went over the paperwork carefully. Every line was in order. Lydia looked up from the file and asked, Are you sure you don't want to confront Daniel too? You could make this a public case. Ryan shook his head. No need. The truth will find him soon enough. And it did. That evening, as the sun dipped low, Daniel Cole received an email from his company's HR department, an internal investigation regarding inappropriate conduct with a married coworker. Attached was a confidential complaint, signed anonymously. Ryan's lips curved into a faint smile when Lydia confirmed it had been sent. It wasn't vengeance for vengeance's sake. It was balance restored. By nightfall, he returned home one last time to collect his belongings. Claire sat on the couch, clutching her phone, eyes swollen from crying. She looked up when he entered, desperate for a chance to speak. He paused at the doorway and said softly, "You wanted to tell me a story, remember? The one where you explain everything." She nodded through her tears. He met her gaze and said, "You can tell it to the judge." Then he walked out, calm, composed, and free. Outside, the evening breeze carried away the last trace of her perfume. For the first time in years, Ryan inhaled deeply and felt something new settle in his chest. Peace. By Monday morning, Claire's world had begun to collapse, quietly, like a building sinking into its own foundation. When she arrived at her office, the usual buzz of chatter fell silent. Coworkers who used to greet her with friendly smiles suddenly turned their eyes to their screens. Even the receptionist, normally polite to a fault, couldn't meet her gaze. Her stomach twisted. Something wasn't right. She pushed open her office door, only to find a white envelope resting on her desk with a note clipped to it. "Please meet with HR at 10 a.m. Her heart sank as she sat down, trembling fingers gripping the edge of the desk. The air felt heavy. She knew before she even opened her laptop what she'd find. Dozens of unread emails blinked at her, some from her boss, others from HR. But one subject line froze her completely. Internal review, conduct, and professional ethics. Her hand shook as she read. The company had launched an investigation into her relationship with a client representative. They cited breach of protocol, possible favoritism, and unprofessional conduct resulting in reputational risk. Daniel's name was mentioned twice. She dropped her phone onto the desk, panic flooding her veins. Her fingers darted over the screen, opening their last conversation. "Claire, I'm home. He found out. Please don't call me for a few days. Daniel, this is bad. They're investigating. I might lose my job." She tried calling him. No answer. Tried again. Straight to voicemail. By the time she walked into the HR meeting, her breath came short, her voice cracked, and her confidence, the very thing she had once been proud of, was gone. They asked questions, calmly, formally, about hotel stays, about expense reports, about emails she thought were private. Each one pierced her like a blade she couldn't deflect. She left the building an hour later with trembling hands and a suspension letter in her bag. At home, the silence greeted her again. The ring on her finger felt heavier now, mocking her. Every corner of the house whispered pieces of their past. The laughter, the dinners, the promises she had shattered. On the kitchen counter sat a small, sealed envelope with her name in Ryan's handwriting. She tore it open. Inside, one line. "The truth has a way of catching up, even when you're running in heels." And below it, copies of her signed confession to HR, forwarded to her lawyer, her company, and her own email. Ryan had left nothing undone. She sank into the couch, pressing her hands to her face, a low sob escaping her lips. For the first time, the weight of her choices truly hit her. Not just losing Ryan, but losing the version of herself she thought she was. Meanwhile, Ryan stood outside his new apartment across town, staring at the skyline through wide glass windows. The air was clean here, untouched by memories. Lydia had just left after finalizing the court filing. The divorce would go through smoothly, uncontested, clean, precise. Everything he'd planned had worked exactly as intended. But even now, as he leaned against the balcony railing, there wasn't satisfaction in his expression, only calm reflection. Revenge hadn't given him joy. It had given him clarity. He understood now that justice didn't always roar. Sometimes it arrived quietly, in sealed envelopes and formal signatures. That evening, as dusk rolled over the city, Claire drove past their old house one last time. The lights were off, the windows dark. She parked at the curb, gripping the steering wheel tightly, tears streaming down her cheeks. For the first time in years, she saw the truth clearly. Ryan had never raised his voice. He had never begged. He had simply stepped back and let her lies destroy themselves. And they had. A week later, her company terminated her contract. Daniel resigned the next day and disappeared. Claire sold her car to pay legal fees, moved into a small apartment near downtown, and deleted her social media to escape the whispers. Every night, She stared at her reflection, wondering how the woman in the mirror had become a stranger. And somewhere across town, Ryan Parker finally slept through the night. No alarms, no doubts, no questions left unanswered. He didn't need closure. He had built it himself. 2 months passed before Claire found the courage to reach out. By then, the scandal had faded from headlines, but the whispers hadn't. She'd lost her job, her friends had distanced themselves, and her once bright future had narrowed to a single-bedroom apartment that smelled faintly of stale coffee and regret. Every night, she thought about Ryan. Not the man she betrayed, but the man who'd loved her quietly, who used to fix things before they broke. The man she hadn't understood until he was gone. So one Sunday morning, with trembling hands and eyes rimmed red from sleepless nights, she dialed his number. He answered on the second ring. Ryan Parker. His tone was calm, professional, distant. The sound of his voice sent a wave of guilt through her. Ryan, it's me. A pause. Then I know. Her throat tightened. Please, don't hang up. I just want to talk. Just once. He didn't speak for several seconds, then finally said, 5 minutes. When Claire arrived at his new apartment later that afternoon, she stood frozen outside the glass doors. The place was elegant but simple. Sunlight poured through wide windows. Plants lined the balcony, and a guitar rested near the couch. It felt peaceful, grounded, alive. Everything she'd taken for granted before. Ryan opened the door, dressed casually, his expression composed. He didn't look angry or bitter, just free. Hi, she whispered. Come in, he said evenly. She stepped inside, her heels clicking softly against the wood floor. You look different, she said. I feel different. Her eyes drifted to a framed photo on the wall. Ryan standing beside a group of coworkers at a construction site, smiling. It was genuine, not the forced kind she used to see when they were together. You seem happy, she said softly. I am. She swallowed, her voice breaking. I wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything. I know that doesn't fix what I did, but you deserve to hear it from me. Ryan didn't move. He just looked at her. The woman who had once been his whole world, now a memory, standing at his door. I don't hate you, Claire, he said finally. I stopped letting myself hate you the day you left. Hate ties you to the person who hurt you. I decided I wanted to be free. Her tears fell before she could stop them. I didn't mean to destroy us. I was selfish. I wanted attention, excitement, something new, and I ended up losing the only person who ever really saw me. He sighed, not out of anger, but out of quiet sadness. You didn't just lose me. You lost yourself, somewhere between wanting more and appreciating enough. She nodded weakly, unable to speak. They stood in silence for a long while, the only sound the hum of the city below. Finally, she whispered, Do you ever think about us? Ryan's eyes softened for the first time. Sometimes, when I pass the old coffee shop, when I hear that song you loved, but not the way you think. I remember it for what it taught me. What did it teach you? She asked. He smiled faintly. That love without honesty is just decoration. It looks good from the outside, but eventually cracks from within. Claire pressed her lips together, her heart aching. Is there any part of you that could forgive me? I already did, he said simply. Forgiving you is the only way I could move forward. But forgiveness doesn't mean returning to the same place. It means walking away without resentment. Her voice quivered. So this is goodbye. It was goodbye a long time ago, he said gently. This is closure. As she turned to leave, her reflection caught in the glass door. For a brief second, she saw the woman she once was, confident, admired, untouchable, and then she saw what she had become. Humbled, human, changed. Outside, the wind was cool, and for the first time, she didn't run. She walked slowly down the quiet street, the world moving on around her. And upstairs, Ryan watched from the window for a moment before turning away. He picked up his guitar, strummed a quiet tune, and let the sound fill the room like a sigh of relief. The past was gone. The pain had been processed. And for both of them, in very different ways, the story had finally ended.